Live at Art Basel Hong Kong. I'm Mao Dan from Hong Kong. So today I will take you to a very brief journey around here at this one of the venues of Art Basel Hong Kong. This is the premier art exhibition fair that is world famous and have different editions. And the Hong Kong edition is now in its sixth presentation. As you can see behind me, there are so many people here to enjoy the fair because today is the second day of public view of Art Basel Hong Kong this year. Actually, before the public view, there were several days of private view for people to, like the art dealers, to find their favorite art piece, and they can place order and they can get their favorite paintings or sculptures. And this one you are seeing now is at the very entrance of the third floor of the Art Basel. There are many people who are taking pictures. This is a masterpiece by a Japanese artist to show the concept of time and space by air. And we have some 250 galleries who are showing their works here at different booths. So this is a platform for modern and contemporary art. What you are going to see are works by both European and Asian artists and almost artists from around the world. And you can take pictures of whatever piece you like. And for those collectors and art dealers, you can go to the gallery owner and give your price for that piece. And if it's okay for them, you can just wait after this Art Basel Hong Kong finishes and they will deliver the piece to your home. As we are going through this, all these beautiful pieces of art, I'm going to visit a few galleries. Some are very established and have long history here in Hong Kong, and some are just emerging ones. I will invite some very experienced art collectors and also dealers to introduce the galleries and also the art pieces to us. So Art Basel Hong Kong started in the year 2013 when the fair holder actually bought Art Hong Kong, which was a very important art exhibition and fair in Asia. So you can see viewers and also people who are interested to collect some pieces coming here. Mostly they're from Asian nations. And I've talked to some of the gallery owners. They said in recent years, especially this year and last year, there are more and more buyers from China because, well, the wealth growth in this area is translating to art sales. And this art fair is very important for some of the galleries because it will give people an idea of what is popular now, and it can be related to the deals at very important auctions such as Christie's and Sotheby's. some of the paintings are very attractive, and some are just creations, are very cutting-edge creations that I'm trying to understand. And now I'm at a gallery, and I would like to talk to friends here. Miss Milton.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Welcome to join our live
Yes.
on CGTN.
We are live already.
So,
My goodness.
yes.
Okay,
so
you have
this
very
is
sophisticated equipment.
Yeah. So this is Howard Milton, who is a very experienced gallery owner and who will take me around to introduce the galleries here. Just give a very brief introduction to yourself.
Okay, well, I have to correct you there. I'm not a gallery owner. I own the Sovereign Art Foundation, which is a charity, and we have a different perspective on art. We use art to raise money, which we then plough back into projects which help disadvantaged children. So we do sell some work at our annual auction, but that work is from the finalists of the Asian Art Prize, which is the biggest Asian art prize. In fact, it's probably the only Trans-Asian.
Based in Hong Kong?
I've been here 25 years. The foundation we set up 15 years ago.
So you must know very much about the city's art market and also Asia side.
Well, a certain amount. I think it's like one of those things, the more you know, the less you know, as in, you know. But certainly I'm looking forward to guiding you through a few what I think are interesting pieces.
Yeah, and maybe we can start from this one.
Well, we should talk to Ben Brown here, who is the gallerist of this one and a friend of mine.
Later after we finish this potential deal.
So,
yeah.
What's the question again?
Just giving me a walk around.
Okay.
Which
well,
galleries do you think are the most
let
interesting?
me take you with me.
Yeah.
Shall we?
Sure.
Okay, let's go. Right, so I'm just trying to pick out things which I think are perhaps not the most obvious things, which your viewers will have already seen and perhaps know about, however knowledgeable they are in art, but perhaps things where they're a little bit more obscure and a little bit more interesting.
Wow. So we are seeing so many Asian faces here. Do you think there are many potential buyers or collectors, just emerging collectors from the region?
Oh, for sure. This fair gets bigger and bigger every year. I think they've stopped selling tickets now, it's so popular. So the people who want to get in are not necessarily going to get in because they've had to shut the doors. So, which is great because you're popularising art and getting the masses involved in it, I suppose, in a way that we haven't seen before in Hong Kong, certainly. And I think this is one of the world's most popular art fairs. So. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of interest in it, a lot of interest. This is the fourth day, and the first day is exclusively reserved for people who they know are going to spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then progressively it becomes a little more democratic, let's say. All right.
So this is the first one you want to show us?
This is the first one I want to show you.
Yeah.
So this is a Filipino artist. And these, what look like angels' wings, are made up of sickles, cutting tools that they use in the fields.
Wow.
And they counterbalanced with bags of rice.
Rice?
This is rice.
I suppose it's sand.
This is rice.
Oh.
So I think the tools have been used to cut rice or whatever, and it's all based upon what happens in the fields with people trying to make a living. And they were a finalist in the Sovereign Art Foundation Asian Prize 2 years ago with a similar piece, which was upright. And
angel wings.
And they're a finalist again with a completely different piece, which is a sort of montage of a house made out of cardboard. Very interesting artists. Some you're going to hear a lot about in the future. They're becoming increasingly popular and increasingly important. And I think it's fabulous. I mean, it looks like a bird's wing or an angel's wing, and that's what it's supposed to look like, but then you look carefully and it's made up of farming tools.
Yeah.
And this is kind of what they're trying to do here.
Yeah. So is there any kind of target audience of this piece?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think the target audience varies because you have this unfortunate thing where the more popular the artist gets, the more expensive it is, and the more the audience who they first were looking for can no longer afford it. So these artists are becoming highly sought after and highly expensive, but they started by appealing to the same sort of people who would make this work. For them, which would be, the farmers working in the fields, and the work uses farming tools. So this is the unfortunate thing, that before long you've been so successful that the people you're aiming it at can no longer afford your work. And I think this is what's happened here. I think the gallery owner's here somewhere who might tell us a bit more about it, but do you want to bring the gallery owners in and get them to talk a bit?
Maybe
Not really.
we can just check out more galleries.
All right, well let's go. Let me go and show you something else. I'm just going to pick things which interest me, and I think you could pick any person in this show and they would show you completely different things.
Yeah, because I think we would like to know more about the wonderful pieces here before we talk to people to get to know what they are interested in.
All right, so these pieces are particularly interesting to me.
Oil painting?
This is by David Hockney. Who is probably one of the world's greatest living painters. So, do you know David Hockney?
Yeah, heard of that name, but I cannot
he typically he made his name painting in oils and painting scenes from California where he went to live, and his very famous piece is called The Splash, and it is a picture of a swimming pool with a diving board, and all you see is the splash where the person dived in. And that piece recently sold, I think, for about 10 million US. That's a smaller work of his, but an iconic work, and he works in enormous scale sometimes. These pieces were done on iPads, so they're iPad drawings which are reproduced in a print form. And it's the reason that I'm particularly interested in them is because these scenes are all from the Yorkshire countryside, which is where I grew up. So not only do I know the area, but I can probably tell you exactly where that tree is and exactly where that tree stump is. So he did a long series of iPad drawings, and he made them into prints. They're editions of 25, which makes them reasonably affordable to everybody. And you can then buy into David Hockney's work at a much more reasonable level. So I think these were originally sold at about 25,000 US dollars. They all sold, so these are secondary market pieces. I don't actually know this gallery, but they'll be resales, so they'll be quite a bit more expensive than that. But this is a good example of where you can buy one of the world's greatest living artists at an affordable price, and probably you're buying not only a beautiful piece of art, but an investment, because they do almost certainly go up. David Hockney's 85. We'd never wish to see the passing of an artist, but as you'll understand, if they do, then that can add to the value because the supply is cut off. So these were done in 2011, and you can see they dated that. There was, they're called, I think, we can check the title, but Spring in East Yorkshire, and he did one per week following the seasons and the change in the scenery as you went through the seasons. So there's quite a lot of them, and their editions are 25, but I think they're beautiful. And he's one of the very old school artists who embraces new technology. So at every step when new technology has come in, he's taken it and used it to make work. So he started off using Microsoft Paintbox and making paintings and drawings of that. And then when the iPad became very popular, he started using the iPad to make drawings and then printing them out. So these are the iPad series. And I think they're brilliant. And I really like them, not only because of the personal collection, but I think they stand on their own as excellent works of art as well.
And do you think some of these art pieces are particularly for Art Basel Hong Kong in Asian area, or are they also going to other versions of Art Basel? I think
yes, they are. They would be. This type of work would probably appear in Art Basel Basel and Art Basel Miami, because I think will probably appeal to anywhere in the world. So it has no particular resonance with Asia or Asian people. I think anybody can like these, and with it being such a famous artist, the likelihood is anybody's going to be interested in him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And shall we check out?
Let's have a look. Let's take you somewhere else.
Yes.
So this is a small Australian gallery. Well, they might not like me calling them a small gallery. Run by two lovely ladies. This is one of them.
Hi, I'm Mao Dan
I'm Joanna. Nice to meet you.
So we want to check out your gallery.
And I've
He's a very good tour guide.
yeah, she has no idea whether I am or not, but I'll take the compliment. But I brought you here to see two things, and actually I'd like to see that thing in the back if we may. Can you get that out, or can we go in the back?
You can go in the back.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're going to go in the back room in a minute, which you're not normally allowed in, but you know this is special favours for you.
Thank you.
So I brought you here to see this artist. The environment's been destroyed by cranes and buildings. And this is a development of a series he started 10 years ago? 10 years ago? 10 years ago. And this is a moving piece, so it's a video piece. If you look carefully, you'll see it change from time to time, and it's lit from the back. His original piece was plain photographic work, but was very interesting because of this contrast and this point that he was trying to make about the destruction of the environment, and using very traditional looking images but giving them a twist.
Yes.
So I think he's particularly interested from that point. He, again, was, I think, somebody who was discovered by the Soviet Art Foundation. He was virtually unknown. He got in our final. There was such a huge interest in him that he sold 35 pieces off the back of being shown in our finalist show. And we've been following ever since. And this is new work, I think. I haven't seen this before.
I actually get some videos made up by pictures.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sometimes they change medium or develop medium. So some artists will stick to painting, some will move to photography, back to painting, video, all sorts of different mediums. Some of my favourite artists work in everything: sculpture, painting, photography, and everything you can think of. And he's quite versatile. Video's not his biggest thing, but whenever he produces a new series, there'll normally a video work within it.
Yes.
But the main focus is on photography and prints of these images, all similar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's very
about
good.
Hong Kong, I can tell.
That one, I think it's all about China. I don't think that's a Hong Kong image.
I
do
saw
we know?
the building of Bank of China.
There's some
Right.
Shanghai as well.
Ah.
Yes, it's lots of different cities composited together.
Oh, so as the images change, you can find elements of different cities?
If you look through, you can see lots of different buildings. The only thing that changes in the course of the video are little cars moving or boats on the river, or if you look into the windows of the houses, you can see people moving inside. And the night sky, maybe the stars move slightly.
I don't think that's a real place, is it?
Of course not. No,
It's
it's lots of different places all put together to make a fantasy.
I presume he starts with a photograph, knits it all together to provide a composite image, and then manipulates it to be something. So this is not a real place. There is no identifiable place in the world which is like this.
Yeah.
So you're
But
right.
that's the iconic, the building of Bank of China.
It looks like that, certainly, doesn't it? And you can see there the sort of World Trade Center, I think, from Hong Kong.
Yeah.
So you'll see images of all sorts of places, but it isn't that place. It's just something he's taken from there and inserted it into the image.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it's intriguing, and you always get crowds watching his work. So
Yes.
this is another artist I know and love, Alex Seaton from Australia, and that is all marble. It's just one solid block of marble. And it is, it's clothes. If you look carefully, it's scrumpled clothes, all in a block. And he makes very realistic marble sculptures based upon real objects, or what could be real objects, and tries to fool you with the image into thinking this is a block of stone or this is actually cloth, but it's marble. So he's done things like life rafts, completely made out of.
Soft lines of cloth.
Yeah, I mean you can touch it
represented.
if you want.
with
And it's very
marble.
tactile.
Wow.
And it's also very heavy. And it's also quite expensive.
Really?
So
Yeah.
this is the whole.
This is they're each individual. These are individual pieces, aren't they? It's not one work.
Oh,
yeah,
individual.
it's individual pieces. Yeah.
And this is the start of a new series. So this is its debut here in Hong Kong. It's never been seen before, and he'll continue this series for a big show with our gallery in September in Sydney. Yeah. But he's probably the one that we've brought to Hong Kong the most. Our very first Hong Kong in 2010, when it was Art HK International. We bought a really fantastic work by this artist Alex Eaton, and we sold. It was the half hoodie, the first idea of that, and we sold it in the first 10 minutes of our first art fair outside of Australia ever for 90,000 US, and we thought, this is good.
This could mean that it's really excellent work, or it could mean that these ladies are excellent salespeople. Maybe it's a bit of both. Maybe it's a bit of both.
You're going to come into our stock room?
Yeah, I want to show you one other piece from, this is new work to me, so I've never seen it before. I saw it earlier today.
Yes.
And there is an installation by the same artist over in the foyer a little bit over that way, but this piece I think is probably a little bit more digestible. So now you're going to go into the back room where you're only allowed if you're a very special person. So I never get to come in here normally. And this is the piece that I wanted to show you. So tell us about it.
So this is the work of Ramesh Mario Nithyendran, and he is a very young, very exciting artist. He was born in Colombo in Sri Lanka, but migrated to Australia when he was quite young. And his background is Tamil, and so if he were a religious person, I guess Hindu would be his religion, but he makes these amazing ceramic works, but also bronzes too, which are, again, mashing up the Hindu deities, but also these are self-portraits. So he creates these new gods. He himself is a god. The gods are both male and female at the same time. So you'll see that they'll have breasts as well as phalluses. This one has the head of an elephant, which is quite traditional for the god Ganesh, or Ganesha, as some people pronounce it. And Ganesh is
Quite a lot of people can't pronounce it at all.
That's
so they
true.
call it all sorts of things.
And he is the god of good fortune. And this is just really groundbreaking work. Ramesh is in Australia and in this area referred to as the bad boy of ceramics. So his style is really quite rough and raw, and the glazes are very mishmash. He takes the kind of high of the gold luster and silver luster and mixes it with the low. He uses false teeth, he uses shells, he uses emojis. It's this kind of coming together of the old and the very, very contemporary as well. And at the age of 20, he's only about 28 now. 3 years ago, when he was only 25, he had a major solo exhibition at the National Gallery of Australia, our biggest institution. This is unheard of for someone so young. So he is definitely a superstar, and his installation at Encounters, which is curated by Alexi Glass, has been quite the sensation. Wow. Yeah.
And then if you look to the right,
you
see
save
some-
this for private dealer sale? This one?
Yes.
Wow.
And then if you look to the right, you've got some more work by Yang Yong Lang on a smaller scale. And this is more typical of what he does, which is a photograph, in this case a backlit photograph, but the difference here is a box around it, which
Very
is kind of
beautiful light boxes, and the boxes themselves are walnut. They're all handmade. There's no nails, no gluing, and they're just beautifully crafted in a very sort of traditional style.
Stick together.
Yeah.
It's dowels. It's
nice.
old school cabinet work, and they each come with a little lid which fits over the top. So when you transport the work, it's very secure
So
and
if you're going
safe.
to a party, you can take along your own
Take
artwork
your
and just
light
get it
box.
out and show people.
Why-
Which we all do a lot, don't we?
Why wouldn't
Especially
you?
if there's an electric supply handy and you can plug it in. That's what we all do at parties, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not drink, we just take artwork along. Yeah.
Oh,
Right, thank you.
thank you for showing me this secret room of beautiful pieces.
How much more time have we got?
I think we can still walk for
Okay.
20 minutes.
Oh, wow. Wow, wow, wow. Right. This is the same guy, but a gold work.
Yeah.
Right, now I'm going to
Is
take
that-
you...
Is that all good? Because those people are.
I've got to come and talk to you in a minute. Can't do that in the middle of a live on.
Okay, so what more can we enjoy here?
Well, there's a lot to enjoy, but I want to take you to...
Yeah, so I have a question. Do you like actually try to find more young artists during each year's art fair or anything like Art Basel?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
That's a
And
personal
how
thing.
can you find those artists?
Well, this is a good forum. So trying to find artists who are undiscovered. In fact, they have a discoveries section here, which is particularly aimed at new artists, not necessarily young, because some of them can be quite old and they just haven't really been discovered. So that's the more interesting section here. If you walk
Here.
around the mainstream galleries, of course they've got great work, but it's probably things that you've seen before, so you know all about. They
English coming in and colonising Australia, with the disease and sickness and everything, a huge percentage of Aboriginal people died out, and we now, these days, only about 3 to 4% of people in Australia identify as being Indigenous.
Right.
So my work's about talking about history, and if we talk about the past, I find that it creates a direction for the future, where we can go in the future with the position of Aboriginal people in Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah, so can you show me like one or two of these pictures and tell me the idea behind it?
Yeah.
Just a brief self-introduction. I'm Mao Dan with the CGT, and we're live now, so people can see your work. So,
Well, this one's done in Parliament House.
Yeah.
So what I've done is I've put my model in every seat. Neville Bonner was our first Indigenous senator to ever enter into Parliament back in the 70s, and he's standing there, my model's standing there in where his seat would have been, pointing down at the Speaker. So it's about, if Indigenous people had more of a say in Australia through history, they would be in a much better position today. So it's all about understanding why Indigenous people are in the position that they're in Australia, and what opportunities that they didn't have in the past, because it takes more than a few generations to get into a better position, not just a short period of time. So a lot of people in Australia, they just kind of see the black and white, and they don't really see the colours in between. So what I try to do is show the colours in between to give more of an understanding.
Yeah.
And who's the gentleman?
That is my friend I grew up with.
Okay.
We used to go to school together. We've both known each other since we were about 4 years old.
Okay, and as you'll see, it's the same man reproduced many times.
Yes,
so
yes.
computer manipulated.
Yeah. So I mean, that was the another idea
He doesn't
too.
know a huge family of Aboriginal men who happen to look identical and all
Yeah.
gather together at the same time.
So
I mean-
how long does it take to make this piece?
So
Different,
each
like,
when I shot each piece, I did about 400 images per photo.
400?
On location, and so each one took about an hour and a half to shoot, and then obviously manipulation on the computer to get all the layers to lay down.
Yeah.
It's I mean, you wouldn't have seen this in the 1950s in Australia, people coming, Aboriginal people going to and from work, like I've shown in this series. It's just something that you wouldn't have seen in our past.
Yeah.
And Michael's becoming one of Australia's most important artists, and his work's being collected by museums, and I know collectors who are buying his work. So he's doing very well, I think, which is great.
Thanks. I'm trying.
Thank you. Thank
Just
you,
finished a new
Michael.
series,
Thank
so
you.
I'm having a bit of a holiday.
All right, well, good to see it. Excellent. Yeah, carry on with the holiday. That's the way. Okay, so there's.
I think we can go back to Ben's
all right, well, let's
gallery
go
to check out.
via Michael. Name to a face. Let's go back via this stand. I want to show you just one Japanese artist who's completely different to anything we've ever
So
seen.
actually, the galleries in Hong Kong, they're not in very huge numbers, right? The number
In this
is
show,
still growing.
there is quite a few, probably about half a dozen. I'm not quite sure the exact number. There used to be more, but as they've become more international, they've wanted to focus more on the international market and attract international clientele. So slowly they've been getting more international galleries. There's been less space for Hong Kong galleries, but principally it's not for a show designed specifically for Hong Kong galleries, because of course if you come to Hong Kong and you want to see some art, you can go to the gallery to see it. So what you're wanting to see here is something which maybe wouldn't be that easy to see by walking around the galleries in Hong Kong.
So
And there's Art
those,
Central down the road, and a lot more Hong Kong galleries
Yeah,
are
so
there now.
your gallery is there
Our
at Art
foundation
Central, right?
stand, yes. I
Oh,
think
your
we-
foundation stand.
Yes. What we're doing is something completely different, because we're not really trying to sell work. But we've got a local artist, Gary Mock, who's quite famous in Hong Kong. He is painting little miniature canvases, and we're inviting people to take one for free.
For free?
Yes.
What?
Would you like to get one? Take it home, then use the iPad to do a drawing of their own, which we put on the wall where that painting was, to create a work by the people.
Yeah.
And produce a very interesting piece of artwork at the end.
Okay,
and
that's
we're
very
using it as
interesting.
a way of raising awareness of the foundation. And we do ask people to donate if they've enjoyed what they've seen, and that goes towards our programs helping disadvantaged children using the arts as a therapy and rehabilitation tool.
Yeah.
So something for everybody in our stand, but essentially we're not a commercial organisation, so we're not looking to sell work in the traditional sense of the word either.
Yeah, so just to show people what art can be and how they can participate.
Yes, and how you can use it for all sorts of different purposes, not necessarily just in the traditional way of buying it and sticking
Yeah.
on your wall, but engaging with the artwork and engaging with the population through the artwork.
Yeah.
So we're trying to achieve a number of different things. But essentially, we're just using it as a PR and publicity tool. So we're quite unusual. And every year, this show and Art Central, they have a number of different charitable projects which they'll give a forum to at their show. So unlike everybody else, we don't pay for our stand. They kindly donate it to us because we're a charity.
Like you play your special role at the
I'd like
Art
to think so.
Central. Yeah.
Yes, I'd like to think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Shall we just,
that's what we're doing here. So this
yeah,
was the
this
artist
one?
I wanted to show you. Again, coincidentally, a Sovereign Art Foundation finalist. This is the gallery owner here.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Mao Dan from
Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, this is a solo show project of Japanese artist Teipei Kaneuji. The theme of this solo show is called Ghost in the Liquid Room, Makeup Shadows. So actually the images are all from fashion and beauty magazines. And he used these as elements and create his own works. And using a method of collage and make them sculptures. Yeah,
Wow.
and this is only one of his series of works, and there are other series which is including White Discharge and also Teenage Fan Club, which are well known in Asia area.
Teenage Fan Club.
Yeah, Teenage Fan Club.
That's the name of a band.
Yeah, and he
And
has
a
kind
very
of
famous
really?
artist called Jim Lambie used to play guitar in that band, and
great.
Jim Lambie has just done the.
Oh, really?
He's just done an installation at a specific place where he's coloured the floor, and was DJing in a party at outside here the other
Okay.
night.
He started that series from 2007 using, Japanese very are famous for toys,
Yeah.
手办, yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
and using an image of very feminine look animals as heroes, as idols, and then use hair of different kind of
Yeah.
figurines, and make them sculptures.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
and
here we see our sculptures of pictures taken from fashion magazines.
yes, for this series.
I think would you call this pop art? I'd call it pop art.
You can call it pop art. It has connection.
Yeah.
It has connection with pop
Yeah.
art.
Yeah, and the artist was here actually. I was hoping he was going to be here for us to speak to, but where's he gone?
He is running back.
Okay.
Yeah, but he will be here. until
All right.
the end of the
Okay,
show.
well I don't think we can wait.
Yeah.
We got to
Yeah.
move on. But
Yeah.
anyway, thanks
Thank
for
you
talking
very
to
much.
us. Yeah,
Thank
bye.
you. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
good to see you.
Nice to
See you
meet
later.
Yeah.
Okay, should we go back to Ben Brown?
Yes, sure.
All right. Hey.
对不起，他们是一个什么样的节目？
We're just doing an interview for CCTV.
So we are going to get back to Ben Brown.
go to Ben Brown.
I think he has some very expensive paintings at the gallery
Ben
now.
Brown is he represents younger artists and does primary market shows, but his principal business is secondary market works
What's that?
by very established artists, and he's very good at finding very nice pieces which are hard to find. But yes, you don't necessarily find anything cheap on his stand. If you've got a limited budget, this is not where you want to be. Now, we've got to find him. Can you remember the way? I know it's that way a bit, but I might be back there. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Oh, too big. I'm relying on you.
I'm
you
I'm
following
not
me?
so good at directions,
Where are we?
especially at this huge hall.
Might have come too far. What do you think?
That way.
No, I think it's that way. I mean, one of the nice things at these art fairs is you get to see an awful lot of work. One of the bad things is you get to see too much work, and before long your mind's gone a bit numb and you can't take it in anymore.
Yeah, but I think it's good because there are like emerging collectors in Asia. They need to like get exposed to many artworks before they decide what kind of those masterpieces they want to collect.
Yes, well, it is you know, the advice for anybody who's starting to collect art but they don't know what to buy. Come
What's the
somewhere
advice?
like this and see lots and lots of things so that you can make your mind up, A, what you like, and B, get a flavour for what the market is like and how everything works.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a great place to do that, and
Yeah.
you'll never see as much art as this anywhere else in the world. This is probably the biggest art fair in the world with the greatest variety.
Yeah.
And then
Hi, man.
mural in the
Yeah.
Oh,
So we're back with Ben Brown,
yeah.
who's live on TV but ignoring us, so that's okay.
talking about friends from China, our collectors from China.
Wow,
It was just
so
reminding me that they have
Ben's
bought,
much more interested in selling work than talking to TV reporters, you see. This is what's going on.
Hi,
these
Ben.
are our friends who have bought over the years 3 pairs of large paintings.
Well done, well done.
And are we just stepping in your big deal now?
Absolutely, we're in the middle of concluding a huge deal, but don't
Huge.
worry, I will break away because
Luckily,
we're just
Ben-
initiating a
Ben is more
something big.
philanthropic than commercial these days, so he doesn't
I can
mind.
tell,
He doesn't
I can
mind that we
tell.
mess up his
It's,
sale.
Chinese television. So,
I'm Mao Dan from CGT and we are doing a live, so I would like to talk to Ben for a few minutes.
excuse me one second, I'm sure Amanda will look
Yeah,
after you. I'll be
so
back. Don't
They
move,
just
don't
need
move.
They just
Don't
want
move.
to sit.
Exactly.
Thank
so
you.
how are
So fine, thank you. We are like looking forward to get more idea. Yeah, get more idea of your gallery and
Good.
all the pieces you bring here.
you? Good.
And can you give us a very short introduction to those beautiful pieces?
Sure. So I'm Ben Brown, and I live in London, and my principal gallery is in London, but I also have a gallery in Hong Kong. I've had a gallery in Hong Kong for 10 years, and it's very nice being in Hong Kong because you have the access to the whole of Asia. So we have collectors from mainland China, from Indonesia, from Taiwan, from Singapore, from Korea, and they all come through Hong Kong because it's a wonderful destination. It's a very easy place to get works of art and money in and out of because there's no taxes, there's no customs, and it's like a hub for the arts in Asia.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about one work of art, which is this work of art here by Alighiero Boetti. He's a famous Italian artist. He's an artist I deal in extensively, and I think there's a very big geopolitical theme here because here, this work of art, as you can see in the top right-hand corner, it
Yeah,
says 1983.
1983.
And so that was a year during which, as you can see, Afghanistan is white, and that's not the flag of Afghanistan. But at the time, the people who were making this were actually Afghan women. And they weren't in Afghanistan, they were in refugee camps in Peshawar, Pakistan. And that's why they made it white, because they wanted to return home, okay?
Oh.
So this is a mappa by Boetti. He's a very famous Italian artist. And this mappa is priced at 1.5 million euros, which is the price of a very, very good house. Over the years, I've sold many mappas by Boetti. He did between 200 and 300 of these, and they are an integral part of Italian 20th century culture. I wanted to move over here and show you one other painting by another famous Italian artist called Lucio Fontana. Lucio Fontana made this cut painting here.
It's
Now
a
what this
painting.
is all about, this is a painting. It's in yellow
Yeah.
oil paint. It's actually, sorry, it's a water-based paint. And all this is about the cuts. And the cuts are all about getting to the world beyond. Okay? This is about a parallel universe in the world beyond. The cuts are very beautiful, they're very rhythmic. They let you sit and think about this. And if you sit opposite and enjoy it, you will let the atmosphere of the cuts soak over you. But it's a really beautiful painting.
Yeah.
because this is by a Cuban
so
artist.
many people are very interested in this.
Many
painting.
people are interested in this painting, and indeed this painting is sold. Okay,
It's already sold.
It's already sold, and it will
Here.
stay in a house. It was sold here at the art fair to a gentleman who lives in Hong Kong and does a lot of business in China. Now, what this is actually fish hooks. Fish hooks.
Really?
I know, nobody can believe it, but when you look up closely,
I can see, I
have
can
a good
see,
look,
yeah.
you can see the fish hooks. So the concept of this is people sitting in Havana, Cuba, and looking out on the horizon, seeing Miami, which is where a lot of them want to escape to, because they want to escape from the regime of their dearly beloved Fidel Castro, or Raul Castro, and in the intervening sea between Havana and Miami is many, many dangers lurking in the sea, and that consists of fish hooks.
So
But
they
what the fish
represent
hooks are
danger.
creating is the waves.
Yeah.
Can you see
When
that?
see
So if you
from
look
distance,
from
yeah.
further away and from straight on,
Yeah.
you can see that they are the waves. It's a very beautiful painting.
Yeah.
And this year, a major museum in Miami called the Perez Museum bought a huge painting by this artist from us, which is 5 meters long. Okay?
That's big.
I next want to talk about the footballs, because I know
football.
how football crazy everybody is in China, like they are in London with me.
How can they stand?
It's magic. It's like magic. Basically, Howard and I, after a big lunch, we pile them all on top of each other, and we hope that they stay there.
And
What
they
this
say-
is to do with a sculpture called the Endless Column by Constantin Brancusi, a very famous sculpture in Romania. And this is a theme that has been going through sculpture since the 1920s, when that sculpture was created. And this is by an African-American artist called Hank Willis Thomas, who is interested in the nexus of sport, politics, and art. So in a sense, this encapsulates all of them. This is about sport, e.g. soccer, art, which is a sculpture,
Yeah,
and politics, because it's a sport where there's a predominance of black people and African Americans in both Europe and in North America. And he's a bit worried that the situation for African American artists and sportsmen is being displaced, if you like, by what's going on in America.
Yeah.
What's it made out of?
Yeah.
This is made out of fiberglass. So it's
Fiberglass.
fiberglass with essentially a paint which is a bit like a car paint on top. So this sculpture could go outside.
Yeah.
In fact, he has one outside in the sculpture bar.
Correct.
Very nice.
He has
artist.
2 sculptures
The other day.
outside.
Yeah.
Howard has seen him several times. About 2 weeks ago, he was here in Hong Kong, and he gave lectures and discourses and talked about art. A very nice, intelligent man.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you, Ben. And
Not
thank
at
you,
all.
Howard. Thank you
we
for
done?
introducing us to this very
Oh, you're
wonderful
welcome.
event.
You're welcome.
And we will have to say goodbye to our audience from around the world.
Bye, audience.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
If you want to check out more, you can come to Art Basel Hong Kong, or maybe next year, because this year I think there is only 1 day left.